What is up? Welcome in. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. We're getting into the crux of it. There's snow on the way. It's going to be freezing, freaking
Lots
cold.
of snow.
Is it though? I kind of already am looking at the weather app, and it's like yesterday it said 5 to 8. Now it's like 3 to 5. Is this going to be one of those classic?
Then you see like the European model on like Channel 5, and they're like 16 inches of snow. You're like, oh crap.
Come on, this happens. I'm calling BS on this. This happens. The first snowfall every year. Everyone gets so excited about it, and then like you go outside and it's like, okay, I can use a broom.
I don't know if
to
I'm
get
getting
this.
excited about it. I'm getting like, get my
little
shovel ready.
panicked.
Make sure I get the gas ready for the snowblower.
You know who I'm?
One car in the garage.
I'm gonna call Paul Conrad. He'll see. Paul, the thing I love about Paul is he just you know. I don't know if he even cares about weather. I'm just kidding. But like he's not gonna blow it up into something it's really not. And we should get him on the podcast sometime. That'd actually be funny. Anyway, I don't know. I'm calling a little bit BS on the snow. I'm not sure this is gonna be Snowmageddon, but it seems pretty certain we're gonna be freezing our asses off on Christmas.
Yeah. Well, not if you're inside.
Right. But the game, the Bears play the Bills on Saturday. I'm not sure if you're aware.
I was about to say, who's going to be really prepared for this is the Buffalo Bills, because I feel like they've had like 5 games like this already this season.
Yeah.
Where they're snowed out, moving to Detroit, playing in the snow. Snowballs are being thrown at the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. I don't think Detroit has seen a loss from. Well, I guess they played each other, so there was technically a loss for the Lions. But I guess what I was trying to say in some weird way is either the Lions or Bills have won at Ford Field every week since like, I don't know, early November. Because the Lions are 6-1 in their last 7. Their only loss was to the Bills. And
there
the Bills,
was that like one stat that was after like the Bills won there. I want to say it was probably that CBS Sports account goes back-to-back home team wins at Ford Field for the first time since like 1997. I'm completely exaggerating that, but I feel like I saw that stat somewhere.
Well,
but now the Lions have won 6 in a row, 7 in a row.
Shout out to the Bears. They fixed the Lions again. Good job. And I'm riding the Lions again this week. Lions and Bengals all the way, baby. All right. Not all the way. I don't think the Lions might not even make the playoffs, but you know what I'm talking about. They've been very good,
entertaining.
Entertaining and a good team to pick recently. Anyway, welcome in. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns. You can read Johnsy on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge and Johns. You can read me, allchgo.com. New newsletter dropping in your inbox tomorrow morning if you are a CHGO diehard. So go sign up if you're not already signed up. You can get that. Gift subscription. Are The Athletic doing the gift subscriptions this year?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
So you can get them both. You got CHGO, you got The Athletic. You're like me right now. You're scrambling to go to Target today. You say, screw that. Just go on theathletic.com or all CHGO and,
give a gift. And I believe next week there's actually another great subscriber deal. So if you're still on the fence, stay tuned for that one as well. Got some good things coming up.
All right. Well, we have a fun episode planned today for you. So obviously a lot of fans, rightly so, already have their eyes set on the NFL draft. And the Bears locking down this number 2 pick in the next 3 weeks. The worst they can do, even if they win, Johnson, is to be in the top 4.
Yes.
If they win one game.
Yes.
Yeah. So I get it. And here's the cool thing, because the best college football games of the season are coming up here right around New Year's. Got some good bowl games. You got the college football playoff, semifinals. And if you go look at Dane Brugler's mock draft on The Athletic, which you should be reading, it's really good. There's so many good players, especially from the SEC, that are going to be playing in these games. So it's a good opportunity to get some instead of having to go back and watch all those YouTube videos in March, you can watch these guys now. And so we thought it'd be a good idea to get someone on who could tell us about these players, somebody who covers these players. This Will Anderson, Jalen Carter debate. Let's get someone on the pod who knows them, who's covered them, who's seen them up close many, many times over the last couple of years. So that's kind of the crux of this episode today. We're going to have David Ubben, who's a college football writer for The Athletic, does a great job. He's going to jump on here and tell us all about these guys. And hopefully it will serve sort of as a preview for our listeners, viewers to watch these games in the next couple weeks to get some eyes on possible picks for the Bears. Let's do it. Let's jump in.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought you were going to say something.
I got nothing.
No. All right.
I'm in draft form, baby.
Already. Okay.
Draft season.
Is the Adam Johns mock draft 1.0 coming out?
No. I like to get through the actual football season before we get to that insanity.
Yeah. Well, it's
Not that
coming.
we didn't like Dane's work, but I want to see things play out. Some finality.
Right. Well, let's learn some things. David Ubben jumping on the pod right now. Okay, well, with the Bears currently slated for the number 2 overall pick, it's like, who cares about these last 3 games, right? That seems to be the general attitude of the Bears fandom right now, I guess, unless it costs them draft position, right? So we thought it'd be cool with Christmas coming up and our midweek episode this week to go to someone who knows a lot more about these, especially SEC prospects right now than we do before we dive into all this more, in the winter and the spring. But David Ubben covers he covers all of college football for The Athletic. He's a really good writer for The Athletic, and you should check him out. Read his work on theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns, but also follow him on Twitter at David Ubben, UBBEN. David, thanks for jumping on with us. We appreciate you taking time. I know, things are probably getting busy here with the bowl season, getting to the better part of the bowl season and the college football playoff coming up. But thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me. It's always interesting. I feel like a lot of college football people, we kind of feel like proud parents passing on these players that we've loved watching to NFL people, and seeing where they go and seeing what it looks like. I think it's always an unpredictable, exercise to see where, what first round guys look like, and, how much does the situation you're drafted into influence your outcome. And it's always fascinating seeing the translation from college to pro, and guys that didn't impress us in college become stars in the NFL, and guys that, were can't miss prospects in college, sort of flame out in the NFL. It's pretty unpredictable. So I'm fascinated by the draft personally.
So the Bears have the 2nd overall pick as of today, 9:39 a.m. here in Chicago, 12:20, a few days before Christmas. And you're looking at Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, maybe franchise-changing defensive players. If you're the Bears, who are you taking in terms of those two? Like, who's the better player in your opinion?
Well, I mean, they're pretty similar. I think ultimately it depends on what you want and what you need. I mean, I think from the Bears' perspective, Jalen Carter is just an offensive line crater creator, basically. Like, he just will collapse everything and just a force of nature. Will Anderson can do that, obviously, more as an edge rusher. He was the most disruptive guy that we've seen in college football the last couple of years. And his numbers were down this year, not really because of anything he did, but just when you're getting 2 and 3 blockers thrown at you, you're getting chipped by tight ends and linebackers all the time, your numbers are going to dip a little bit. And he was still, top 10 in sacks and tackles for loss, and still obviously recognized he won the Nagurski Award for a 2nd consecutive season. I think Jalen Carter, he was not far from my Heisman ballot personally. I think he just missed 3 or 4 games, I think, and that was a big reason why I didn't have him on there. But ultimately, I don't think either of those guys you can go wrong with. I think it depends on what do you need more. Do you need somebody to collapse the pocket and help you stuff the run? With Jalen Carter, I mean, his strength and ability obviously are unmatched in the sport right now. Or, a guy like Will Anderson who can overwhelm you on the edge and disrupt and get after the passer. I think it just sort of breaks down with what do you feel like is more valuable for your defensive line or your defensive front at the time. I don't know how much Will Anderson can drop into coverage. He didn't do a ton of that at Alabama. I mean, they sort of just brought him off the edge pretty consistently. But it sort of comes down to what do you think the team needs more?
What if I told you they needed both?
Well, I think
And then more of that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in college football, certainly, the old adage is, can you score and can you get after the passer? And if you can do those two things, you're in good shape. But then, of course, there's the idea, maybe slightly archaic, that, hey, if you can't stop the run, you can't do anything. So, maybe they can pull a trade and just get both of them.
Maybe. Trust me, that's being discussed, at least from the fans, even if it's not that realistic. Is Jalen Carter somebody who can still, from the inside, shoot gaps and get after the quarterback too? I mean, because the Bears defense kind of relies on a three technique that you can not only collapse the pocket like you talked about Jalen Carter can do, but really shoot gaps and get after the quarterback as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's he can, certainly. I think we've seen enough of that, but in Georgia's scheme, I don't think they necessarily ask him to do that a ton. I think it's a lot, more about, hey, maintain your gap integrity, obviously, and don't get too far upfield, obviously. And I think it just depends on what you need him to do. I think ultimately when you watch him play and you watch him move the way that he can move at his size, I mean, I was always intrigued. I talked to two coaches in the SEC this offseason. Well, one on the offseason, one later in the season, who both told me that they thought Jalen Carter was the best player on Georgia's defense last year, which featured 5 first-round picks: Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, obviously, Travon Walker, all those guys, big-time talents, big-time draft picks. And they feel like Jalen Carter was better. And the main criticism of Georgia's defense this year is just they lacked the star power. They were still great. They didn't have the same star power that they did from a year ago. Now, at the time, I kind of was wondering, but if you look at some of the cut-ups and the things that Jalen Carter can do, he can do everything. And I think one of the lasting images of his entire season is, for whatever it's worth, him sacking the quarterback. And not only sacking Jaden Daniels in the SEC championship, but literally hoisting him up with one hand. And I was talking to, I can't remember which Georgia player it was. It might have been Smile Munden. I can't remember which player it was, but I was asking what he thought about that. And he said, hey, I told you, that boy's just different. That boy's just different. Who does that? I had never seen that before. And I think, I don't think Jalen Carter is going to get a statue outside of Stanford Stadium. But I wish he did, because then we could have him hoisting Jaden Daniels as the knockout candidate for a statue outside the stadium.
Not only then he gave the number one pick salute, or he put his number one up there. That's something special there. So last year there was three edge rush.
Real quick, Johns. I gotta laugh though, like people talking about, and not you, David. I know you were just kind of referencing some of the other criticism, but it's like Georgia doesn't have the star power. And then I look at Dane Brugler's mock draft, and once again, they have 5 first-round picks.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I think part of it, I mean, for one, it's a testament to Kirby Smart's recruiting and development that he can do this. I think Georgia, you talk to people around college football, Georgia has kind of replaced Alabama as the standard. Can they continue that forever or in perpetuity? We'll see. But certainly, the fact that they could lose as much as they did last year and only fall back from one of the best college football defenses, in the history of the sport, to merely the best defense in the season of that year is unbelievable. To lose that amount of talent and still be able to do that, because it really was just plug and play. You add a couple freshmen in there, and I think it speaks to what they're taught, the culture of the program, all of those things. I think people watch it and they're well, they've recruited really well. Okay, I think if that was so easy, more teams would do it. I think people underestimate how hard it was to do what Georgia did this year, to lose all that, and then obviously still be fielding the kind of defense that they fielded. It's it's amazing. But I think ultimately, for better or worse, I think it comes down to, from their defense, they didn't have the same sort of I wouldn't say viral clips, but just wow plays. Malachi Starks, their freshman corner, he was making the wow plays. But I think you didn't see Nakobe Dean chasing down a ball carrier from 40 yards on the other side of the field, or Jordan Davis, scoring a touchdown, or just doing insane stuff, and being just a massive human being at like 350 pounds and be able to move the way that he did. Even though, like I said, there are certainly coaches who believe Jalen Carter was better last year, and then he's had another year inside the system and in college football. So, I think it's going to be really interesting. To go back to you guys' original question, though, I think when you're talking about Jalen Carter, you're talking about Will Anderson, it's hard for me to imagine a scenario in which both of those guys are not wildly successful wherever they go, just because they can do things that you can't really do. And then you combine the size and the strength and the ability and obviously the pedigree and, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. I mean, I don't know who else you'd want to be coached by if you're a defender in college football for 3 years. So exciting talents ultimately.
How would you compare Will Anderson to the three defensive ends, the edge guys that went top 5 last year?
I think certainly Will Anderson, if he had been able to come out last year, probably would have gone above those guys. I mean, the amount of production that he had last year, I don't even know what it was. It was like 35 tackles for loss.
It was insane.
It was ridiculous. It was one of the best defensive seasons we've seen in the sport. And he was getting double teams last year as well. I think teams really focused in on him even more this year. I think ultimately, I'd have to look at the measurements, but Will Anderson is he's a big dude, and I think the strength, I'd like to see what their bench numbers are. I think we'll see what that looks like at the combine. Just me guessing, I would feel like Will Anderson is probably stronger than those guys. I think you see him just manhandle people, and then he can run around guys if he needs to. He can really do everything. But I think if you can just to have that kind of season, like there are so few guys that can even do that. And you're looking at, in Alabama history, the only guy that's got more sacks than him is Derek Thomas, who, he had a pretty good career too.
Yeah.
So for you to have that kind of production, and not only that, but to play so early in your career at Alabama and play and gain the kind of respect that Will Anderson did. And then, of course, a 2-time Nagurski winner as the best defensive player in the sport. It's some special stuff. So I think, we can talk about flawed voting methods and why Jalen Carter didn't get the same love. But ultimately, that is an incredible accomplishment and something we haven't seen in the sport, since 1996. So, I keep going back to these two guys are clearly special, and I think whatever you get, they're really, it's hard for me to see them not having wild success at the next level, just considering all of the things that they can do.
Well, before we move on to some of the other players from the SEC who could potentially be in play later in the first round, if the Bears end up with the number 2 pick, they are guaranteed their pick between Jalen Carter and Will Anderson, or at least getting one of them. There's an assumption that Bryce Young goes number 1 overall to the Houston Texans already, which would then allow the Bears to really choose between the two of them. Although, I don't know, with Lovie Smith, to me, it's like never count out the defensive player. Regardless, give me your thoughts on Bryce Young. Is he worth the number 1 overall pick? And I did find it interesting and appreciated that he's playing in the bowl game despite his status of potentially going number 1. And I love what he had to say about it too.
Mm-hmm. I think there is some insurance stuff going on with that stuff that helps him make that decision, I think. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, yeah, I think that's, for me, there's a lot of Bryce Young. I wouldn't say skepticism, but just, well, he's not how you draw it up because he's not 6'4" and he's not 230 pounds. But ultimately, for me, Bryce would be the first guy that I would take off the board at a quarterback. Even some of the guys that are coming back, there's a lot of talk about. Obviously, Drake May is a guy that people are enjoying. He does have more of that prototype. But for me, it comes down to, can you process and can you be accurate? And he doesn't, Bryce Young he puts a lot of velocity on the ball. There's a lot of pop on the ball. I don't know that he's going to uncork an 85-yard, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen bomb. I don't know that he has that kind of arm strength. But there's no questions about his arm strength. The ball comes out, he can get it. He can do everything you want him to do. But I think for me, Alabama put so much on him this year, way more than last year. They had a lot less talent at the receiver position. Guys were struggling to get open, and he has a sixth sense just in the pocket that he can escape. He can extend plays, and his sort of signature throughout his career is that he is really mobile, but he doesn't really want to use his legs to run. He uses his legs to extend the play, to allow himself to make a throw, to change the angles, to ask, can corners cover my guys for 6-7 seconds? That's asking a lot. And he did that a lot at Alabama, and that's why he put up the kind of numbers that he did. And I think, I would argue that he was more impressive this season than he was last year, because his offensive line really probably got worse from last year to this year. So, he's well-versed in that lifestyle, which he'll be living at the next level of running for his life. We saw a lot of that this year. I think you're going to see Alabama make a change, an offensive line coach there. He didn't have the receiver talent this year. He's not throwing. Alabama's been a receiver factory for 5 or 6 years. I forget the numbers of first-round picks. I think they had, I want to say 7 in 4 years, something like that. They don't have that guy on this roster. He does not exist. And still, Bryce was able to make some plays. Alabama, they're a 7 or 8 win team without him this year. And he absolutely made some spectacular plays, kept them in games, won them some games. And I think you go and look at what he can do. Again, I think it comes down to processing and accuracy. He makes the right decision. You don't see him do – he's been a starter for 2 years. I've watched a lot of Bryce Young. I've never seen him make a throw where you're just like, what did he see? What is he doing as a first-year starter? And when a guy is open – he's putting it on him every time. The accuracy is unbelievable. I think that's what makes him really special. And if you can do those two things, I always say, if Chad Pennington can make a living in the NFL for 10 years with whatever he was doing, Bryce Young obviously has a lot better tools, but he has that processing ability and he has that accuracy. And if you can do that, I don't really care that you're maybe not 6 foot tall and, pretty slight. He doesn't take a lot of big hits. He's smart. He understands that he's doesn't put himself in jeopardy. And that's, that ultimately can give you some lasting power in the NFL. And again, Bryce, and also good leadership qualities, 0 knucklehead factor. I think when you have all of that, another guy that I'll be shocked if he's not wildly successful wherever he ends up. Which seemingly would be Houston.
So let's say Houston does take Bryce Young and Ryan Poles' phone is going crazy now at the 2nd overall pick. Team's looking for a quarterback. Which quarterback, do you think that could be? I'm looking at Will Levis right now from Kentucky. I feel like every year there's a quarterback now that it's overdrafted just because there's 2 drafts. There's the draft for everybody else and there's a draft for quarterbacks. Teams get desperate. What do you like about Levis? Could he be that guy that forces conversations, forces trades to happen at the 2nd overall pick?
Well, Levis is probably the most polarizing prospect in college football right now. There's a lot of people, because for 2 years, college football fans have been hearing this. Well, Will Levis is a first-round prospect. And then you watch him, the numbers don't wow you. He makes some very curious decisions. I've seen a lot of Will Levis the last couple of years, and I probably twice a game he throws a ball where you're just like, where were you going with that? But then obviously absolute howitzer on his arm, the measurables that you want, a bigger body. He probably, his personality is. Depending on your perspective, he's the guy when Bryce is scrambling for a 6-yard run, he's going to want to step out of bounds and avoid the hit. Levis, when he's scrambling for a 6-yard run, he's going to want to lower the shoulder and run over whoever's there, whether that's a 300-pound lineman, a 240-pound linebacker, or a 190-pound quarterback. He's going to want to run over that guy. What do you want in your franchise? Because that's who Will Levis is, and I think there's a level of, can you get that out of a guy? I'm not so sure that you can. Bryce is more, obviously, he seems more mindful of, hey, is it worth giving my shoulder a additional mileage for this extra 2 yards? Probably not. Will Levis maybe wants to send a message to the defense like, hey, I'm coming. And so the accuracy, there's some questions there, but again, with Levis, it's always been about the tools, because you watch him and you see him make these throws and you see the velocity that he has on his ball. It's ridiculous. His arm strength is unreal. And he can make, every single throw that you'd want. And, 3 or 4 times a game, he's making a throw that just leaves you in awe. And then, he's making a couple throws that leave you in awe of, what did I just witness? Why did you make that throw? And then you look at the numbers, that's a problem. I think one of the biggest things that people really liked and were projecting is that he's been playing in the hottest offense in football. The Kyle Shanahan, 11 personnel, all that stuff, all those same concepts. The Sean McVay sort of stuff. They hired Liam Cohen at Kentucky. He left, obviously, went back to the NFL. This year, it didn't go well with Rich Scangarello. They brought Liam Cohen back. But obviously, he spent 2 seasons in that offense. So when you're walking into the NFL, you understand a lot of those concepts. You understand a lot of the verbiage. You're used to making the reads. And that was a big selling point. And one of the reasons why he was really excited about, being in Kentucky is that you walk in the NFL and you sort of have this jump on the offense. Whereas in a lot of places, you're coming out of college and having to learn a different offense. You've learned, you've spent 2 years learning Japanese, and now you've got to go learn French. Can you do that? Sometimes that gets lost in translation. That was not going to be the case for him. So it's complicated arithmetic with Will Levis. He's a guy that, if he becomes the next Josh Allen, I think I wouldn't be surprised. If he is, a career backup and out of the league in 4 or 5 years, I can't say that I would be completely shocked, because the decision-making has always left you wondering, like, what's going on there? He threw way too many picks and probably should have thrown more when you look at his games. So, he seems like a boomer bust guy to me. And it's pretty dangerous. We'll see.
There's that's really good stuff. There's a lot of SEC names in Dane Brugler's first mock draft in the first round. I'm not going to ask you to go through all of them, but does anybody stand out to you as somebody that you feel like, yeah, that player is going to be pretty good? I mean, there's like Ringo, the corner at Georgia, a couple
polarizing product.
What's that?
Another polarizing guy for sure.
Okay. There's a bunch of corners. South Carolina's got a corner in Cam Smith. There's some edge guys. Florida is Jared Verse and Nolan Smith from Georgia. I mean, any of these guys kind of stand out to you as somebody you're like, yeah, that could be somebody that I feel like is going to be a pretty damn good player.
I mean, for me, it's maybe oversimplistic, but I think when you look at the guys coming out of Georgia and Alabama, I think it's just different because, Nick Saban talks about it from time to time, but there is an unbelievable value in the practices being harder than the games. And everybody that comes out of Georgia and Alabama says the same thing, because the amount of talent that is on that roster, you're going up against 5 stars constantly, guys that have like NFL bodies. And so, when you're talking about, whether that's a Keely Ringo, whether that's a Broderick Jones, any of those guys coming out of Georgia, Brian Branches, those big time guys out of Georgia and Alabama, I mean, the track record with those guys is pretty good. And I think it's because obviously they have been in that system. They've been in that program for a long time. And I think that they're a little bit more used to going up against when you're going and playing against, when you're at a South Carolina or at, Kentucky or whatever, you're not going up against another 5-star in practice every single day. The practices probably not as hard as games. You're going to go up against better players a lot of Saturdays. But you're rarely, when you're at Georgia or Alabama, going to go up against better players on Saturdays than you are the other 4 days of the week or the 2 days a week you're in full pads or whatever. And so that I think is a big reason why you see so much success and so much correlation between those guys. There's a reason why when guys are looking at, hey, when I want to go to the next level, Georgia and Alabama are, on the top of everybody's list. It's not just because they win, it's because they churn out NFL talent, NFL picks, NFL stars, all of those things. So, I personally think Keely Ringo is a really good prospect that stands out to me. But I think any of those guys coming out of there, it's sort of oversimplistic, but it's the same thing as like people who go to, really good J schools when they come out of college. It's like the people that are making the decisions and are trying to make hires or draft picks, they know what you've been taught. They know what it's like inside your program, and they can have a little bit more trust, and they can feel pretty good that you're going to turn out. And I think you're going to see that when you have guys coming from Georgia and Alabama. You don't see a ton of busts from those two programs, and I think that there's a bunch of reasons why. So if I'm looking for a low risk, which, if I was a GM, that would kind of be, my sort of MO is like, who presents us with the lowest amount of risk? I'm leaning against those guys that come from those kinds of programs.
Who's the best receiver this year coming out of the SEC?
Oh man, that's a good question. So for me, I would have a lot of questions about Jalen Hyatt, just because obviously the size is part of it, right? The size, he's slight, but I think the bigger thing for me when you look at Jalen Hyatt is like that translation between the Baylor offense that Tennessee runs. If you look at the NFL pedigree of that system, it's not great because their route tree is way, way, way simple. And a lot of those guys have struggled. I mean, the list of guys is a mile long. Kendall Wright, Corey Coleman, all these guys that come into the league and have struggled out of that offense. There's not a lot of guys that have done great. And then, of course, the size problem. Now, he can fly. There's no question about that. But in the NFL, it's a lot about, can you get open? Can you run the route tree? And we didn't see a ton of that. He's a lot of running by people. And wherever he goes in the NFL, that's not going to be his offense. This was a pretty lean year, honestly. I
was thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, the best receivers are probably coming back. I'm sitting here, looking at the list now, and all the guys that really impressed you are coming back. I thought Kayshon Boutte was probably the best guy, or on the short list of the best guys in the SEC, and he's obviously coming back. But I mean, you look at it, I don't see anybody in here that I really would buy as a big time guy at the next level coming out of the SEC. That really impressed me. That's going into the draft. Like I said, the best guys are coming back or are in the transfer portal. So if I'm looking at it, I am probably very nervous about taking an SEC receiver because this was not a great year for the SEC. Yeah,
I got one name outside the SEC, Quentin Johnson from TCU.
Stud. Again, I think you're going to have a lot to learn in a new offense, but the big body, be able to make contested catches. I mean, here's the thing, like the Max Duggan stuff. So I made TCU fans mad. I did not vote for Max Duggan for the Heisman. And the biggest reason why was that I felt like he was the third best player on his offense. The first best player on TCU's offense is Quentin Johnson. Like, you watch him and you're like, that guy is an absolute baller. And when you have big receivers that can run, and the most frustrating thing for me in college football is when you have big receivers that don't know that they're huge. Like, they just play small. Listen, Quentin Johnson will bully you, and he will make defensive backs know, hey, I'm a lot taller than you. I'm a lot bigger than you. You're going to have to come bring it. And I think that is really powerful quality in receivers. He'll have to learn a lot at the next level. Sonny Dykes' offense, I don't know how much that's going to translate at the next level, but I like his route running ability. I like the contested catches. I like the size, the speed. For me, he's the guy that I would really buy at the next level.
Yeah, I like watching him, and we'll see him in the college football playoff as well. Mm-hmm. So, David, really appreciate all this insight. It's great. I know it feels early for the NFL draft, but it's kind of cool because there's still a bunch of games. There's still at least, the bowl games and the college football playoff to watch a lot of these guys. So we just want to make sure that the Bears fans that are kind of already looking at the stuff knew who to be watching as these games arrive here in the next couple weeks. So thank you so much for jumping on. Again, David Ubben, the college football writer for The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter at David Ubben, and you can also hear him on the Football and Grits podcast as well, which would be a great listen here, especially as the college football season winds down. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, with Masterclass, you can learn from the world's best minds anytime, anywhere, at your own pace. You could check out a songwriting class from John Legend. How about the power of personal branding with Chris Jenner, using the voice as an instrument with Mariah Carey, or Bob Iger teaching business strategy. Bob Iger in the news this week. There's cooking classes. There's tons of things you can check out with over 180 classes from a range of world-class instructors. That thing you've always wanted to do is closer than you think. I've checked out the ukulele classes in the past. Really enjoyed that. Some of the barbecue classes out there. They're really helpful. And when you sign up, you get access to all of them, which is the coolest part. I highly recommend you check it out. This holiday, give one annual membership and get one free. So go to masterclass.com/firstdown today. That's masterclass.com/firstdown. And you'll be getting one membership free when you give one annual membership. Masterclass.com/firstdown. Terms apply. Hey, if you're like me, you're getting a lot of packages at your door every day right now with the holidays, but when the Omaha Steaks box arrives, there's nothing better. Give the best with the best steaks of your life from Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher since 1917. Perfectly aged, tender, unforgettable, and guaranteed delicious. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together an assortment of various packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use code ADAM at checkout to get an additional $30 off your order. Send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary butcher's cut filet mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away. Head to omahasteaks.com. Use promo code ADAM at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Use promo code ADAM. I'm telling you, when that box arrives, you see that meat that comes in there, you are going to be excited to throw it on the grill right away. I love it every time it shows up. Use promo code ADAM at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order.
Happy New Year! Now's the perfect time to grab some brand new comfy underwear, loungewear, or pajamas from Tommy John's end-of-year sale. Save up to 70%. When you start the year in Tommy John, you're that much more comfortable, so you can do everything better. Tommy John underwear, loungewear, and pajamas have dozens of innovations, like luxuriously soft tri-blend and micromodal fabrics with 4-way stretch, and there's no lint balls or fuzz. With over 18 million pairs sold and thousands of 5-star reviews, people love their Tommy Johns. That's why Tommy John's doesn't have customers, they have fanatics. When it comes to the underwear game at Team Hoge Jahns, once we tried on Tommy John's, there really was no other option. It's breathable, comfortable, gives you that security. Plus, all Tommy John underwear is covered by their no wedgie guarantee. This is Tommy John's final sale of the year. And like 2022, it's ending soon. So shop Tommy John's end of the year sale right now for up to 70% off at TommyJohn.com/athletic. Save up to 70% for limited time at TommyJohn.com/athletic. That's TommyJohn.com/athletic. See site for details.
Hey, it's time to knock that new business idea out of the park with Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Forget the off-season work. Shopify makes it simple to sell to anyone from anywhere. Whether you're selling warm-ups or wall hangers, it's time to start selling with Shopify and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of businesses worldwide. With Shopify, you'll customize your online store to your brand, discover new customers, and build the relationships that create die-hard fans. Shopify fields all the sales channels to grow a winning business, from an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform, even across social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And thanks to 24/7 support and free on-demand business courses, Shopify is on your team every step of the way. It's how every minute new sellers around the world score their first sale with Shopify, and you can too. Shopify is the secret to becoming a business champion by making it simple for anyone to sell their products anywhere, taking the guesswork out of selling. When you're ready to take your winning idea to the world, team up with Shopify, the commerce platform powering millions of businesses down the street and around the globe. Try out Shopify for free today. Start selling anywhere. Here's what you need to do. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/Adams. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Adams. That's plural, to start selling online today. Shopify.com/Adams. All right, Johns, the biggest takeaways from talking to David there.
It was actually something that you said there, my podcast partner. Lovie Smith in Houston. Like, how much power does he have over personnel decisions, especially when it comes to the first overall pick?
Yeah.
You know he would love himself a 3 technique. An edge rusher like Julius Peppers. 3 technique like Tommy Harris, if not even better. What if Lovie Smith has the strongest say, or at least still a strong influence there in Houston? Because I don't. It's a messed up team. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
The whole organization's a little
Yeah.
wacko. Although they did finally get rid of that
The priest.
the priest guy who apparently was the team president.
Yeah, he's gone. I'm blanking on his name. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his. I honestly don't want to remember his name. Some of that stuff was just wild that he was involved in. So look, Nick Casterio's still the GM there, and
but what if he's not sold on a Bryce Young? What if he doesn't have the right measurables for him?
yeah, I do think it is worth discussing that. I don't know that maybe it's 90% likely they take a quarterback, but I don't know that it's 100%, at least right now where we stand. It's just something to keep in mind.
Common sense says you should take a quarterback. But this is the Houston Texans we're talking about.
Right.
And if they think Will Anderson is the next coming of someone even better than Julius Peppers.
J.J. Watt, since they had J.J. there.
Yeah. Someone that special. Although J.J. went, 16th overall or something like that? What was Peppers? Peppers was like number 2. Right? John Fox, Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Okay,
2
so
or 3,
Let's use Peppers as the comparison here. What if that's what Lovey wants? Lovey gets? Caserio agrees with him? I don't know to me would make
that much power.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of just sort of almost settled on him to have the job. But here's why
Lovey get fired.
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing. I don't know that he's 100% safe the way they're just rotating through coaches out there.
They do have that two-quarterback system going.
I would say it's likely he's still the coach there, but I don't know. What if that's on Sean Payton's list of teams he's interested in? And I don't know that. I'm just
overall pick.
Right. So, although if that's the case and they hire Sean Payton, then they're definitely going quarterback. I just think it's something to think about. It which is another good reason for the Bears to be in. If you're at least get the number 2 pick, then you're still guaranteed Jalen Carter or Will Anderson.
Yeah, just based on our conversations with Dane Brugler last week and David just now, it sounds like it's Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and everybody else after that. Like those 2 are your bona fide superstars, defensive starters in day 1, potential all-pro player year 2, like that damn good of defensive players. That's the caliber player you're talking about. And then it's everybody else after that. It would make the Bears' decision easier if Will Anderson went number 1 and you're left at number 2 to take Jalen Carter, but something to think about for sure.
Yeah, it is interesting. And the reason why, and we'll have way more time, obviously, over the next few months to go through some of this, but I did want to touch on some of those other guys because, there is a scenario where the Bears could potentially trade back and maybe add another first. There's a bunch of teams that have 2 first-round picks this year. So just something to keep in mind. And so maybe some of those other guys we talked with David about there will be in play later in the first round. Or as we always see, they slide into the second round. Then again, you don't have that number would have been the number 33 overall pick because the Dolphins forfeited their first round pick. That one still hurts, John. Just got to get over it. But yeah. All right. Well, any other final thoughts?
No. I think we got a Eagles game to break down. No. Play the voicemails?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, we have voicemails. I almost totally forgot. You know what? Real quick. I feel like I did have... I wanted to touch on it. I know we talked about this post-game, and I know you wrote about it, and rightly so. But even more so watching the game over, Sunday was an important game for that secondary. To see Kyler Gordon play that way, that might have been Kyler's best game of the season. Jalen Johnson. You look at the stat line, and you're like, there's no way Jalen Johnson played well. To me, he was the highest graded player on the field. I thought he played excellent.
He did play well. I feel like that 68-yarder was like Like if they're in to use up the boxing analogy, like that was the knockout punch in a great, like a 10-round fight between the two, right? Like
the coverage on that was the coverage was good,
exceptional. Jalen Hurts throws a damn good deep ball. Damn, he does. In that one.
He had now Jalen Hurts had a couple throws in that game where I was like, where the hell is that going? But then some of those deep balls were just perfectly dropped in there where Jalen Johnson had him blanketed. Now you got to get the guy down. That's the only thing I would say is you can't let him pick up another 30, 40 yards or whatever it was after the catch. Or at least got to get him out of bounds there when he's that close to the sideline. That would be my only criticism of that big play. But anyway, I just
would tell you that A.J. Brown is kind of a problem though for all would-be tacklers.
Yeah.
But yes, at least grab the ankle, make it harder than that.
Did you notice who was active in a DNP in that game?
For the Bears?
Yes. Kindle Vildor.
Vildor, yeah.
Active in a DNP, and Jalen Jones played well. Again, I thought not as well as Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, but he still played like a starter, in my opinion. Jaquan Brisker as well. Honestly, DeAndre Houston Carson's just such a
he's a glue
valuable guy. Yeah, he's a glue guy. He's so good on special teams. He knows he's like an extra coach on the field. And then anytime the Bears have had a safety go down in recent years, he fills in pretty well. It's not perfect, but that's another guy who, like, if I had to bet right now, he's back next year.
Yeah.
You know,
he's a heart and soul. Like those are the players that kind of fill up a lot of rosters.
Yeah.
And the Bears got a very good one. And I don't know if I'm articulating that the best way that I can, but as a glue player who plays in all special teams, who can fill in a pinch when there's injuries, like those players are invaluable in a lot of ways. And he's only been here. I feel like every year he's getting a 1-year contract. Probably going to get the same.
Yeah. Keep plugging away. He stays healthy too, for the most part, which that was always Sherrick McManus's problem.
Hamstring issues.
Yeah. He would always miss a few games every year with soft tissue injuries. Despite being like DeAndre Houston Carson, a really good special teamer who could fill in on defense in a pinch.
But to your point, I felt throughout that game that the secondary was playing well. Gordon, Jalen Johnson specifically. My mind kind of changed on that 68-yarder, but I'm glad I stuck with the topic, at least that angle. Like, well, these guys, the Bears have the worst defense in the league.
But they're doing this with no D-line.
Yes, and that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Those passes would not be perfect if you get Jalen Hurts off his timing and off his spot. Mm-hmm. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. You had to blitz to get him off that spot, and they generated some pressure. But again, you had to blitz like Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon blitzed on the 68-yarder. He did.
I want to acknowledge one D lineman because I think it's the first time in over a month that a Bears defensive lineman has actually graded out pretty damn well. That's how bad it's been. I thought Travis Gibson played well in that game.
Okay.
He got pressure. He touched the quarterback a couple times. I realized the bar is low.
There was one rush by Taco Charlton where I go to Kevin Fishman, like, whoa, look at that. Like, drove his, I want to say it was the right tackle. Maybe it was the tight end because I don't think it was Lane Johnson. Drove him all the way into Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where that feels notable because you don't see it a lot, though.
Yeah. Well, and that is why we just had a guest on to talk about 2 defensive linemen. All right. Your voicemails from this game against the Eagles, and then we will get out of here. Here you go.
Hello?
Do you know who this is?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The Hoge Jahns voicemail. The Hoge Jahns voicemail line.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Got any questions or comments about the Bears? Give the guys a call before, after, or even during the game.
Go Bears!
Genghis in St. Paul after that ridiculous Justin Fields escape and what could have been a touchdown.
just got to say that dude, if he decides football's not for him, definitely has a future doing jiu-jitsu. Get him in the UFC. JF1, JFC. Bear down.
Fields, you're amazing. Santos, leave Chicago now, you pathetic worm.
What more do you want from Justin Fields? Every single person who has any criticism of him right now needs to look themselves in the eye and realize that he is individually by himself moving the ball against the best defense in the NFC. That is doing everything with literally no help. Literally no help. Better.
Yeah, Hoge Jahns going to have to go back to the Whiskey Cokes after seeing this debacle of the first half. Unreal. Kevin Jenkins goes out. Justin Fields gets sacked 3 times. Man, I'll just be happy if Justin Fields survives this game. And I'd be surprised if he even finishes it. Eberflus is looking at Trevor Simeon's way. So we'll see. Let's go Bears. Bear down.
Woggy Cat, John Z, baby. Someone tell this Bears team 2018 was just a couple of years ago, boys. I mean, Kyler Gordon interception, DHC interception. Defense has just been rolling today. Now, unfortunately, the offense, Justin Fields trying to do everything in his power with the spare parts cast here today, but unfortunately, the offensive play callers playing this game on all Madden because we just seem to be dialing up every wrong play and every play that we can blow up. Can't even get a single net positive yardage, and we don't even trust our kicker within the 30 to 50 or from the 43-yard line. My apologies. I don't know what's going on here, boys, but we got to change something, otherwise it's going to be another loss here. Bear down.
Hi, this is Levis Jones Jr. The good news is the fact that I can't hang on to the ball don't matter because I'm so old I can get Social Security.
Hey. Oh. Levis Jones has got to go. Hey. Oh. Levis Jones has got to go.
Cairo, no, that's your thing. That's what you do. You can't just call in the middle of a game. No, I'm not going to kick that. Dude, come on.
Flus, you're an idiot. Stop calling timeout. Every single person on your first string is injured, and you're calling timeouts at the end of the game like, hey, we can win with these guys we just got from the schoolyard. Stop calling timeouts, you moron. Let the game go. You lost. Oh, Lord.
Hey, Hoge Jahns. Dominic soon needs to be fined and kicked out of the league for being the dirtiest player. What the hell? He took a little wind-up swing at Justin Fields' head when he was tackling him in the first quarter. What a cheap shot from that douchebag.
Death, taxes, and Bayless Jones fumbling. He might be the worst third-round receiver we've had, and that is invoking the name of Joaquin Iglesias. And I don't know what round Mark Bradley is, but he's pretty terrible. And I would not be shocked if he doesn't make the team at all next year because he is terrible.
Hey, Bears fans, B-Man here. Justin may just be Spider-Man. Bear down!
Hoge Cat, John Z. Fab. It's about the podcast calling in here from Soldiers Fields in Chicago on the lakefront. It was a beautiful day for some football, but unfortunately our Chicago Bears lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's really not that big of a deal, though, because the Bears are now statistically eliminated from Super Bowl contention this year. Doesn't mean they can't win it again next year and the year after and the year after. And I guarantee that that's going to happen because Justin Fields looked amazing today. He had to go out because Nathan Peterman came in for a couple of plays, and Nathan Peterman, man, looked terrible. And if Justin Fields had played the whole game, Bears win. No doubt in my mind, no doubt in the whole wide world. But it didn't happen. Oh, well, move on. Next week is the Buffalo Bills. Bears should probably beat them. But anyway, we got a couple more games left here this season, and then we start for 2023 Super Bowl run. Let's go Bears. Chicago Bear down.
I think Bob's right. If Justin hadn't missed that one play, that 1 3rd and 14, Bears win.
Peterman went for it. I think the pass went 10 yards, 15 yards in that vicinity, right?
I laughed when I rewatched it yesterday because it's like he came in and he's like,
he went for it, right? Like
he's like, he was still short of the sticks, but the guy was not open. But like, you know how like when you're watching on not the coach's film, but just on the TV angle, you usually can't see like where they're throwing if it's more than a check down. he threw that ball like the guy was wide open. Like he's like, I'm
with
chucking this
purpose and
thing.
conviction. This is my one play.
And then the camera pans and it's like, oh no, he's covered and that's incomplete.
Punting.
No.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff on the voicemails. Thanks for everybody calling in. And well, we'll be back Thursday. We've got a preview episode. Bears and Bills coming your way on Christmas Eve. And the snow is coming, the cold is coming.
We'll have some interesting quarterback conversation in that podcast.
Yeah. It's too bad this game, like, if the Bears were good, imagine Justin Fields, Josh Allen, 2 Super Bowl contenders going head-to-head in the cold. I think the snow is going to be gone by then, but just cold Christmas Eve game like that. That's something that could be like one of those like memorable games that like gets talked about for a long time.
Yeah. I still think it'll be entertaining. Justin Fields will still give you 3 to 5 plays where you're just like, wow, the Bears have them. But then like after that, you realize they have all these injuries at receiver. I don't know who's starting at right tackle or right guard, who's going to rush Josh Allen, who's going to get hurdled by Josh Allen. It's going to be one of those type of games by the end of it.
All right, well, we're out of here.
It'll keep it interesting.
I think it like just like Sunday's game. With Justin Fields, the games are still entertaining. And there's going to be that one big play that everybody's going, oh, my God. All right, we're out of here. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns. Thanks to David Ubben for coming on today. We appreciate that. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode and some of the draft talk with these SEC draft prospects. Read Johnsy on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. You can read me at allchgo.com. Merchandise, if you're looking for last-minute gifts, obviousshirts.com. Gifts memberships available for both CHGO and The Athletic. So check it out. Hit subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button. We appreciate you. Hit the notification so you know we go live. And most importantly, if you got some Bears fans over for the holidays this week, you tell them about the podcast. Word of mouth is huge. Send them a link. Shoot them a link on your phone, email, text, whatever. Just say, hey, check it out. We appreciate everybody who does that. All right. We'll be back Thursday. Talk to you then.
See ya.